Hello everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I want to help you learn a new language in 2025 and share a few strategies that have been working great for me. I'm testing a new filming format using a microphone, kind of like recording a podcast, so please let me know in the comments what you think about the setup. A little bit more relaxed I feel like, so please let me know your thoughts. The first strategy I feel like is going to be extremely important in 2025 if you want to learn a new language is focusing on comprehensible input. I've been learning a lot of different languages ever since I was a little kid, and right now I'm especially focused on learning Spanish. And over the years of learning multiple foreign languages, I realized that focusing on comprehensible input is probably the most important thing for me. It's definitely something that has helped me improve my language skills a lot and also feel good in the process of learning a foreign language, because I don't want you guys to feel stressed. I don't want you guys to feel anxious and feel like you're not doing enough when it comes to learning a language. So basically the theory of comprehensible input comes from Stephen Krashen, a linguist who developed it in 1980s as part of his input hypothesis. All of these words are going to make sense in a minute, just bear with me here. Basically, Krashen believed that the best way to learn a language is to be exposed to a language that you can mostly understand, but with just a little bit of challenge to stretch your abilities. And guys, once you really understand the strategy and start implementing it, you will see results immediately, because a lot of us language learners tend to use resources that are a little bit more advanced than our current level is. Yes, maybe right now in Spanish, I want to watch a very famous movie or a very famous TV show, but I have to be honest with myself and ask myself this question: do I think I'm going to understand most of the information? Because I really want this movie or this show to be just above, just a little bit above my current level of Spanish. This is often written as I+1, where I is your current level and +1 is a small step above it. Again, I+1, not I+2, I+10, I+20. I know a lot of us want to choose I+20 at the very beginning, but please, let's slow down and let's start with I+1. The reason why this strategy really works is you don't really force yourself to memorize a lot of complicated grammar, a lot of new vocabulary. You know, sometimes you open a book and when you start reading it, in every single line, you have a word you don't know. What does it tell us? It tells us that this book is way too hard for you. It is not I+1. It is probably I+10. And so if you're being exposed to a language that is just slightly above your current level, with maybe a few new words, phrases, grammar rules mixed in, just a few, this will actually motivate you to continue learning this language. Because one of the reasons language learners lose motivation and stop practicing is because they realize that learning a language is too hard. And why do they realize that learning a language is too hard? Because they chose materials that were way hard for them. Okay, so to really drive the message home, at every single stage of your language learning journey, if you want to be improving and if you also want to feel good while improving, while advancing, you should choose materials that are only slightly above your current level. And yes, that works when you become advanced too. If you want to continue improving, don't stop at what you already know. If you're watching a show and you're realizing that you literally know everything, all the words, all the grammar rules, maybe it's time to choose something else. If your goal is to continuously improve your language skills, these strategies I just mentioned can really make your language learning more efficient and because of that more fun. And now I want to share with you guys something that has made my traveling experiences a lot more efficient, a lot more fun, and much easier. And that is my level 8 luggage. And I want to say a huge thank you to them for sponsoring a portion of this video. I recently crossed the Atlantic Ocean twice in 1 week to go see my family, and guess what I took with me? Of course, my level 8 suitcase. The set I have is the luminous texture 2-piece, and I just love the way it looks so much. I think it's sleek, stylish, and perfect for any trip. But my absolute favorite feature of level 8 luggage is their wheels. I'm really obsessed with them. The way I can just glide my suitcase through airports with zero effort is truly amazing. Their wheels spin 360 degrees, and that is exactly why it is so easy to use them. When you open your suitcase, all of your clothes are going to be organized, and I'm all for organization because I honestly hate this feeling when when you come to the hotel, you open the zipper, and then all of your clothes just fall out of your suitcase. That is not going to happen with your level 8 luggage. There's a spot for everything, which makes packing and finding my things so much simpler. I can fit everything I need without having to stress about where it all goes. And honestly, I love how level 8 combines design and practicality. Exactly what you need when you travel. You want your suitcase to look cute, but you also want it to work well and be practical. And only for you guys, I have a special 10% discount off your order if you use my code Veronica10 at checkout. I will also leave the link in the description, so make sure to check out level 8. The second strategy that is going to be indispensable, extremely important in 2025 if you want to learn a new foreign language is focusing on active recall and spaced repetition. Maybe these two strategies could be, separated, like strategy number 1 and strategy number 2, but I decided to combine them because I personally use them together. And if you use certain applications or if you try to do it by yourself, you will most likely combine these strategies into one as well. So what is active recall? It is basically when you're trying to actively remember what you have just learned instead of just rereading. If you open your notebook, you can read all of the words you have there, like the word, the definition, the word, the definition. You can just read all of that, or you can close the definition, for example, and make yourself practice active recall and be like, okay, the first word is mesmerizing. What does it mean? I have to explain what it means using my own words. This is active recall, and it is a lot more effective than rote memorization or than just rereading all of your notes. And yeah, guys, if you decide to practice active recall, you're going to realize that it is way harder than just reviewing all of your vocabulary. Recalling information using your own words to describe something is always harder, but it is way more effective as well. Okay, now let's move on to the second sub strategy, which is spaced repetition. You practice spaced repetition when instead of cramming all of the information all at once and then forgetting about it, you try to review information at increasing intervals over time. For example, you have a list of words and you review them today, and then you review them tomorrow, and then you review them 5 days later, and then 10 days later, and then 20 days later. This is the strategy that will actually help you use the words while speaking. Because I know a lot of you guys experience this situation. You know that you know this word, maybe when you read something or watch a movie, but when it comes to actually speaking the language and then using this word or expression yourself, you freeze, you forget this word, and you just feel so frustrated. And so what can you do? Practice spaced repetition. It will help you move information from your short-term memory to your long-term memory, thus preventing forgetting. And yes, technically before I mentioned that you can create those intervals by yourself, maybe have a calendar, but honestly, it is so hard. It's so hard to stay consistent for me if I create my own time intervals. It is so hard for me to be disciplined. And so I always choose a method that is easier, that is going to guarantee that I stay consistent and disciplined in my language learning journey. And so because of that, I use Anki. I talk about Anki all the time on this YouTube channel because this is the app that I literally use for every single new language I learn. And it's not just me, most polyglots use Anki as well. And the reason why so many people love Anki is because their core philosophy was always about providing a tool for language learners and students to improve their skills without focusing on making money. The app is open source and it remains free for your computer. If you want to download an app, you have to pay for it, but you pay for it once and you forget about it, and it's not very expensive. And so these two strategies combined, active recall and spaced repetition, really make sure that you're deeply actively learning and not just recognizing words when you see them. The next super important strategy that is going to help you learn a new language in 2025 is learning all of the vocabulary and context. And yes, I know that you have probably heard of this super important rule, but I actually want to take it a step further and show you how I learn all of the vocabulary and context. So as I mentioned previously, I use Anki. And on Anki, you can create cards in multiple formats. And the formats that I absolutely love and that I use very often right now to memorize vocabulary and context is creating cloze cards. C-O-L-Z-E, cloze cards. They let you learn vocabulary by removing a word from a sentence and then making you recall it. We are practicing strategy number 2 and we're combining it with strategy number 3, which makes your language learning a lot more effective. So let's say you're trying to learn a new word in English, for example, serene. And instead of just cramming this and being like, okay, serene, translation to my native language, I don't think that is very effective, and plus we're going to try to move away from your native language as soon as possible. What you're going to do is open Anki and then create or find a sentence that uses this word, serene. And what is especially important is you're going to find a sentence that you can potentially use. You look at it, you read it, and ask yourself this question: can I use this sentence? Do I see myself using this sentence in conversations in the future? If the answer is no, you have to change the sentence until the answer becomes yes. Otherwise, it's not effective. It's a waste of time. Okay, and then you basically add it to Anki using the cloze card feature, hiding the word that you want to recall. So let's say right here, I have the sentence: the view from the mountain was so serene that I didn't want to leave. Maybe I went hiking, and when I read the sentence, I'm like, yes, I can definitely use the sentence in my conversations because I love hiking, so I'm going to keep it. And so I have to highlight the word serene and then hide it so that later Anki shows me the sentence without the word serene. And maybe I can find a picture to represent the word serene, something super calm, maybe somebody doing yoga, clear sky, and basically add all of these pictures so that they can help me recall the word better. Again, we're not using your native language here at all. Pictures and context are enough. And yes, guys, I want to be honest with you and say that using these types of cards on Anki is also harder. It is way harder than just reviewing vocabulary in your notebook. You will actually make your brain work and think because your brain is trying to recall that word from memory instead of relying on root memorization or on translating from your native language. But I really hope you're watching my channel because you are serious about language learning, and maybe you're tired of all the traditional strategies that don't seem to work. You've tried writing down all the vocabulary, you've tried cramming everything, but all of this doesn't seem to work, and that is absolutely understandable why all of this doesn't work. And so now I'm giving you really effective strategies, but obviously you will have to make more effort to use them, but I promise you the effort will pay off. Editing Veronica here. So I realized that I really needed to add this little part where I was talking about, you don't have to use translations, just use pictures. I feel like it's important to add that what I would personally do if I'm trying to memorize the word serene, for example, I see it for the very first time. First, I go to Google and I look up the definition of the word serene in English, obviously, right? Because we're trying to not use translation. And so here, the definition is calm, peaceful, untroubled, tranquil. And so I basically choose the words that I kind of already know and understand. Let's say calm and peaceful. And I can include these words to Anki as well to help me a little bit because yes, sometimes you can include pictures, but you see the pictures and the word is hidden and you're like, okay, what am I supposed to use here? Calm, peaceful, but no, you have to use the word that is a little bit more advanced. And so sometimes I also add some definitions maybe in English. an explanation or something that is going to guide me in the right path, that is going to help me recall the information a little bit better. Because otherwise, just looking at the pictures, you might be like, I don't know what's happening here. I don't remember the word. And one last thing, if you feel like you really need to look up the translation of a specific word, like all of these words in English are not really doing it for you, okay, please do it. But still, try not to create cards that are going to look like serene, your native language, majestic, your native language, because we're trying to switch your brain to English or whichever language you're learning. The next strategy is going to be very useful for those of you guys who are learning multiple foreign languages, or you can already speak one foreign language at a very good level. For example, this is my situation with English because my native language is Russian. I can speak English really well, so I'm using English to learn a new foreign language. I know it might be tempting to use your native language to start learning a new language. For example, I could be using Russian to learn Spanish, but instead I'm using English to learn Spanish. If I need a certain, explanation for a grammar rule, I'm always going to use English for that. And the reason why this is a good strategy is you're just going to spend more time with your foreign languages instead of with your native language, because it's your native language. Let's be honest, you can already speak your native language really well. And so I think it's better to focus on your foreign languages and use them as a platform to learn new languages if that is the goal. And I feel like, especially for me, learning Spanish in English makes way more sense because a lot of native English speakers are trying to learn Spanish or can't speak Spanish. Whereas learning Spanish using Russian, I understand that a lot of people who speak Russian are also probably learning Spanish, but I think it's maybe not as common. Maybe there aren't a lot of resources in Russian that explain stuff about Spanish. But at the end of the day, my goal is to spend more time with my foreign languages, with English and with Spanish, and not more time practicing my native language. The next super useful strategy to learn a new language in 2025 is using anchoring to stay consistent. Anchoring is something that I really discovered for myself in 2024, and because of that, I started being consistent in my sports, yoga, bouldering, going to the gym, in my languages, especially Spanish. The way it works is you have to think of something that is going to make you come back to a language no matter what. Basically, your anchor. It's always going to be there, and you're always going to come back to the language because your anchor is there. For me, it's my weekly Spanish classes with my teacher, because I realized that when I don't practice Spanish with any teachers, what happens is I become lazy, my discipline starts lacking, I skip a day, 2, 3, 5, a week, 2 weeks. I don't practice Spanish at all. But those weekly classes really remind me to check in with myself and with my Spanish learning progress and be honest with myself. Like, Veronica, have you actually practiced Spanish this week? The answer is no. That is not a very good answer. The answer is yes. Good job. Continue. When it comes to language learning, I have noticed that what works for most people as an anchor is something they paid for. Because let's be real, a lot of us do want to use free language learning resources, but once we pay for something, we value it a lot more, and we immediately become more consistent, more dedicated, just because we spend our own hard-earned money on it. And so I am the same way. I have a lot of things on my plate every single day. If I don't really pay for my language learning, I stop practicing just because I think, it's fine, I'll do it on the weekend, and then the weekend comes and I don't do anything. But once I pay for something, maybe it's an app, maybe it's my class, maybe it's a language book, I'm immediately more dedicated and more disciplined. So maybe for you, your anchor is also going to be something you will pay for. Just think about it. The next strategy for super busy people is practicing habit stacking. And that is honestly exactly why a lot of people like Duolingo, because they can practice habit stacking and use this fun app. For example, you're standing in line, there's nothing to do, or you're waiting for your Uber, you're bored, and then you can just do your Duolingo really quickly. And so what I'm proposing is, instead of using Duolingo, let's use some other resources, but also practice habit stacking. And for that to be working effectively, I really think you should create a list of all the activities you could be doing while learning a foreign language. You basically stack your new habit on your existing one. Let's say you go to the gym. That is a great habit that you already have. And at the gym, you can listen to a language learning podcast, for example. That is going to be habit stacking, or maybe watch a YouTube video in Spanish and English, depending on which language you're learning. That is again habit stacking. You're waiting in line, you're waiting for something for your Uber, you can do your Anki cards. Maybe this is not really habit stacking because being in line is not really a habit, more like activity stacking. You know, sometimes you can stack multiple activities on top of each other, and that is going to work great as well. Okay, and finally, I want to finish this video by talking about the self-determination theory. That is something that I learned only recently, and when I learned about this theory, I was like, it makes so much sense, especially when it comes to language learning. According to the self-determination theory, people are more likely to stay consistent in activities that they find intrinsically motivating, meaning activities that they enjoy and find personally meaningful. How can we apply that to language learning? If you tie learning a new language to your personal values, you're way more likely to stay disciplined, stay consistent, stay engaged with the language. For example, a few months ago in 2024, I decided to learn Korean just because I watched a YouTube video and I was like, oh my god, this language looks so fun. The writing system, the pronunciation, everything, I'm gonna learn it. And then you know what happened? 2 weeks later, I stopped because there was nothing really when it came to my personal values that connected me to this language. Yes, maybe I want to go to South Korea one day, but is this desire to travel to South Korea enough for me to actually go into all of this trouble, spend a lot of my time to learn a completely new language, and also a pretty hard language? It's not like learning Italian, for example, because I can already speak English, I'm learning Spanish, my Spanish is getting better and better, and so technically learning Italian right now would be easy or easier, right, than learning Korean. And so obviously, because there was nothing connecting me to Korean when it came to my personal values, there was nothing that I found intrinsically motivating, I stopped. But I'm continuing with Spanish because I find a lot of things about this language intrinsically motivating. For example, my fiance and his family, they're Mexican. And so for me to be able to communicate with them effectively, I need to learn this language. And that is a huge motivational boost for me because I want to understand his family. I want to connect with them on a deeper level. And that is exactly why I find Spanish learning intrinsically motivating. So yeah, what I propose here is pretty much doing a deep dive into why you're learning your foreign language. So guys, I think it's going to be it for this video. If you liked it, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Let me know in the comments if you like this new format with a podcasting mic, a little bit more relaxed, because I definitely had a lot more fun chit-chatting with you like that today. So please let me know your thoughts. If you want to upgrade your suitcases this year, I highly recommend Level 8. I literally changed all of my suitcases to their luggage. So if you want to get a 10% discount, you can use my code Veronica10 and the link in the description. If you need help creating your own monthly language learning plan, I have a video about that on my YouTube channel. So you can click right here and keep on watching.